Kibla Koton, Vihigdil, you have I don't know why you did this, but you gave your get to a child to deliver, and then he became an adult. Cherish, you gave your get to a deaf mute to deliver, and he became healed. Suma, you gave your get to a blind person, and then he became healed. Shoita, you gave it to an insane person, and he became sane. Nochu, you gave it to a goy, and this guy became Jewish. Possible, it's no good. Avo pikeach, because he has to be kosher at the beginning of the shlichus, right? He can't just become kosher in the middle of the shlichus. Avo pikeach, but a person who was not able to speak, nor speak and hear, and she's chayish became a deaf mute for chazon pikeach, and then he was able to speak again. Pisech, he was sighted. Shishtami was blinded. V'chazon hispatech, and became sighted again. Shavi, he was sane. Shishtateh, he became insane. Chazon hishtafeh, became sane again. Kosher, that's okay. Zeh general principle kosher. Tchilas of itself of das. Anything which begins and ends with full das kosher, that person's kosher. Asuv dekum Rabbi Ami. So case came from Rabbi Ami. Be'evet shevi yisaget. Evet brought a get for a woman. Okay, the Eved brought a get for a woman, and he said kosher. He said it's okay. Rabbi said, how can you say it's okay? But I didn't Rabbi Chid say Eved shevis if an Eved brings a get for a woman, also it's no good. Rabbi said Ilue Rabbi Ba, were Rabbi Ba not to have come. Rabbi Ba is Rabbi Abba, who said that it's no good. Had he not come along to save the day, we would have already been matir lahatir shashis. In other words, lucky for him he came and told us that the shlichus of an Eved is no good, because otherwise he would have listened to Rabbi Ami, who said that the shlichus was good. So it says, well, you know what? I don't understand what was Rabbi Ami thinking about. If you could say my lo shmiya, the lo shmiya Rabbi Yasi, Hoda the tiny Rabbi Chia, even though he's, let's say, Rabbi Yasi, although it's probably his Rabbi Ami supposed to be, because Rabbi Ami is the one who wants to be martyred. Rabbi Yasi is the one who's commenting, shwoo! It's a good thing that Rabbi Abba came along, but it's Rabbi Ami who wanted to be martyred, so it probably should be Rabbi Ami. But whoever it was, Rabbi Ami or Yasi, let's say, if you take Malo Shmiya Rabbi Yasi, let's say he didn't hear that which Rabbi Chia said in a bright, so then evidence which brings a get as possible. But Lo Shmiya Mil Rabbanon, didn't he hear of the rabbis in our Mishnah, rabbis, not a Mishnah, rabbis are about to be bring down, who say that it's no good? So then which rabbis are those? Nishmini min Adah. Then let's hear from this rabbi. Some Rabbi Zira. Rabbi Zira said that Rabbi Chia, B'Shem Rabbi Yochanan said, near Madvarim, we know that Sheikabel Eved get shiur, an Eved can accept his own get shiur, or the get shiur of another Eved. Vayikabel get Isha, you cannot accept the get of a woman. So how come Rabbi Ami or Rabasi was not aware of the same name Rabbi Yochanan? They didn't know necessarily Bryce's from Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Yochanan was their Rosh Hashiva. How did they not know what Rabbi Yochanan held? So it says the Gemara, they thought, Lomar el Ayi Kabel. They thought that when Rabbi Chia said that he shouldn't accept it, means the Chatchila. He shouldn't accept it. So but the evidence, if he did, kosher would be valid. That's why we need the Bryce to say that even b'diavad it's no good, and Eved cannot serve as the conduit, the vehicle for a get to be delivered. Rabbi Yaakov Rabbi Yosha said, "My saw you of a kohenes I saw." Was the mice which happened was the kohenes? That, in other words, an Eved brought a get for a woman who's a kohenes, and ad kedei kach is an Eved possible to bring a get. That lo choshlam mishum reach psul. They didn't even say it's a get to passel her from truma. Akidei kacha wasn't the get that she was still allowed to eat truma after having received that get. Because once you give a get to an Eved, it's like putting the get on the ground. The get cannot be ever placed on the ground. I mean, figuratively speaking, it can never be left without shlichus. And the evidence like it had no shlichus, and therefore the get is null and void. Okay. Says our last halacha in the perek, Avanoshim she'enam monos lomar meis ba'alo. Even women are not believed to say that the husband of another woman died, such as Tzoros, co-wives, mother-in-laws, all those were cases where they're not believed. Nevertheless, their monoslavi is believed to bring the get and say for the nechta. Even though they hate her, they still believe to bring the get. The more is going to ask why. Who are these women? Chamosa, your mother-in-law, Bas Chamosa, your sister-in-law, Sarasa, your co-wife, Yevimta, your sister-in-law, your brother-in-law's wife, Ubas Baala, and your stepdaughter. My begin the Misa, actually, the Gemara says, what's interesting to get, the Mishnah says, what's interesting to get at Misa, that they're not believed to say that this husband died, but they're allowed to say that this is the proper get, because obviously they're bringing a get along with them. So we assume that they're telling the truth. A woman herself brings her get, she has to say it was written and signed in front of me. Now, before I learn the Gemara, let me tell you that it's Machlokas Bab and Yerushalmi. The Bible holds that a woman only has to say for nechtam if she's a shliach to bring the get. But if she's not a shliach, she just was divorced and she comes in front of us with the get and says, I'm divorced, she doesn't have to say for nechtam. Yerushalmi, we shall see, presently holds there's no, whenever she brings a get, regardless of whether she was a shliach or not, she has to say funny nechta. Okay, which is interesting shita. I don't know why we're mocking like that, but that's what comes out. Okay, it says Rav Lomi Piano Minimosa. I don't understand. How can we believe these women, right? Say, were these women who come and say, bring the get, if they would not say Parinechta, would we allow this woman to get remarried? Obviously not. So therefore, in essence, we have the same problem. We have any vomits that we're relying on these women to be machshir get in order for this other woman to get remarried, and let's be afraid that they're going to lie in order to get this woman remarried so that her kids will be mamzerim, because they hate the woman. So says the Gemara, Rabbi Yisrael said similar to what we said in the first parak, way back when, in the beginning of the Masechta. Rabbi Avin said that we don't suspect that an individual is going to cause another individual to be messed up at the hands of heaven, unless he can mess them up in human court as well. In other words, people are Rishoyim, but they're only Rishoyim if they can enjoy the satisfaction of their Rishus, right? So therefore, if a person's not going to passel a get or issue a get possible, nobody's ever going to find out about it. Just so in the privacy of his own heart, he can know that he committed this contemptible act. So if you can go and exult later on and come and say, I apostled her kids or whatever, so then he'll be spiteful, right? So it means, B'dei Shamayim, Beinola Shamayim, when it's only between him and God, it's not going to be spiteful. So you can come to Basin and be spiteful and Basin. So since...
Excuse me, maybe he's doing it, he's just giving the information.
Well, here we're not concerned with him anyway. Here we're concerned with the co-wives, right? The women who are bringing it, right? Yes, who has a question? If it's on Gittin.
How can you even think that if he issues his own get, then he knows that it's not really, that they're not really mamzerim. So,
because he's a Russia.
The only satisfaction you can have is that if everybody else thinks they're mamzerim.
Right.
So,
no, but he actually might issue a get puzzle. He might issue. Oh, so that's what Gemara says. That's how he issued for the nechtam. Look. Now, since he knows that if he comes and complains the Uru Batel, he knows that his complaint will be Batel. He's going to make sure to do the Eng Shem. Now here too, even he sent one of these women who detests his soon-to-be ex-wife. But he knows that once he sent them and they say B'fanei Nechtam, he's never going to be able to come and protest and cancel the get. So therefore that serves as enough of an incentive for him to make sure that the get is kosher to begin with. So remember, according to Yerushalmi, it's not so much the credibility which we give the shliach says Farinechtam, but the deterrent quality. Since there is a shliach say Farinechtam, therefore the Baal Mistama is going to make it properly. So to the same thing, even though the shliach is one of these women who detests the Megureshas, nevertheless, that's enough to make sure that the husband will do the right thing. Okay? Now, Hagatzmacha. Now, here comes the Yerushalmi, which I referred to before. Hagatzmacha. Shasas Eser Shanim B'Goyim V'Niseis. Does she have to say even that which I said the Bab Yerushalmi argue was saw in the sefer called the Or Gadol from the Gorum Minsk, and he says that Hagatzmacha Shasas Eser Shanim B'Goyim V'Niseis. She was 10 years in Rome, she got married, and then she comes to get married. Does she have to say Farinechtam? She claims she got divorced 10 years ago in Rome, and now she comes here to get remarried. Does she have to say Farinechtam? Says not necessarily, not in that case. But Rabbi Yochanan said, when does a woman have to say Farinechtam? Not when he made her shliach. Bobby says when he made her shliach, right? No, here it's different. When he says to her, complaining. It says to only get divorced in so-and-so place, so then when she reaches that place, she has to say Farinechtam, even if she's not the shliach, right? Normally only the shliach say Farinechtam. When he sends his get with his wife, it says, here's your get. You're not a shliach, you're receiving it. But I only want you to be in Megureshas when you reach it in New York. So then when she reaches New York and the get becomes effective, she has to say Farinechtam. Okay? So it's not if she claims 10 years ago in Rome I was divorced, right? But now, as she comes to the city and her get is taking effect, that's when she has to say Farinechtam. Okay? Now but next paragraph. Kol get shnichtav shlo l'shem meisha pasul. And he get which is written not for the purpose of the woman is pasul ketan. How so? Hoya over several cases. Hoya over Shugis Pathnu marketplace. Vishama called seven. He heard the voice of the Sofi Makrim. They were reading out. Ish Ploni Megarish Histo. Ruvain is divorcing his wife Sora. Plonis. Mimokam Ploni from so and so place. Vorme says, hey, Zeshmi, my name is Ruvain. Zeshem Mishin, that's my wife's name Sora. Of course, the parents' name I mentioned as well. Plus in the Garish, but he still can't use it. Why? Because it wasn't written for his purpose. Yes, we can. Not only that, because of the Garish is still, he actually wrote together, had to get written in order to divorce his wife. The Nimach, he changed his mind. Mitzvah Ben Nero, and he found Mitzvah Ben Nero, found some in the same city. Well, he said, look at it, it's about the way it's a good get. Maybe you'd like to divorce your wife, right? Shmi said, Shmika, my name is like your name. Your name, your wife's name is like my wife's name. So you go and use it. Person of Garish, but you can't use it. Yosef became more than that. Yeshlo Shtei Noshim. If he himself has two wives, interesting marriage. He has two wives, and both the wives have the same name. Right? Because obviously, there was one wife with multiple personality syndrome, right? But in any event, he has one wife. Yeshlo Shtei Noshim, which two wives, which Moshe Shamim, and their names are the same. Because the Garish was though he had in mind to be Megarish the elder one, the Garish was kind of use it to divorce the younger one, and vice versa. Yes, not only that, but even more than that, he said to the Sefer, write it with both of them in mind. So, now flip a coin, now decide which of them are going to give it to. Plus, it's no good me the Garish, but you can't use it. Okay? When it says that they're reading out that he heard when he passed by the Sofer's house, the Sofer's saying, "This is kind of get we're reading." So it's Malam we're writing. Malam Ditonokos. He was a teacher, teaching kids how to write Gittin. Now, don't ask me why it's for teaching kids how to write Gittin. Right, from Maktim or Fulu Mako. But in any event, he was teaching them how to write Gittin. So then, that's the first case, Mishnah. What's the next case, which is even bigger chiddush? Next case is a case where it was a real get, but it was written for somebody else. So Tam Lo Nichtav L'Shem Get. The first case in the Mishnah is a case where it's written for practice, not for the purpose of get. But in the second case, Nichtav L'Shem Get is written for his purpose of get. Nevertheless, you can't use it. The next is a case where he wrote it for his own wife number one, right? He can't use it for wife number two. So Tama Lo Nichtav Lo Lishmo V'Lo Lishmo. In case number two, it was not written for this person, neither the husband nor the wife. It was written for somebody else in the city. But here, in case number three, Nichtav Lishmo, it was written for his sake. Lo Nichtav Lishmo, even though it's not written for her sake, so I might say it's okay. And what's case number four? Mao Yerushalmi Gittin. It's a case where you wrote it out tonight, that whichever wife you want to use it for, you can use it, right? Mao Yerushalmi Gittin. In this case, the final case, as opposed to the case before that. In the third case, Tama Nichtav Lishmo V'Lo Nichtav Lishmo, it's written for his name, not for her name. But here, Nichtav Lishmo V'Lo Lishmo, it's written for both him and his wives. Right? We just don't know which wife it's going to ultimately be used on. But they had in mind all possible wives, right? So I might say that works. It wasn't designated to chop off this one. Be sure we showed it for the first moment. I might say it's okay, therefore you have to say it's not okay. Rav Amar. Now Rav said, Kulem Einam Psulim. Now, all these getting are apostle, but they don't apostle her from kahuna. Remember the concept? I don't know if I expounded upon this enough a few minutes ago when we had it for the first time. The concept of reach get. Reach get, when there's a get which is puzzle, but it's not puzzle enough that it's completely not a get. It's enough of a get to make sure that she can't, instead if she was married to Kohen, she can't do Truma, she can't marry Kohen in the future, right? That's called reach get. Schmeckt wie a get. It smells like a get, right? So therefore, what about the case of our Mishnah where we said they're not megureshes? Is it reach a get or is it not reach a get? Right? So says Rav Amar Kulam Einam Psulim. None of them make the woman possible. They're not reach a get. Chutz min Aaron, except for the last case where he wrote the get for one of his two wives, true possible. No, on the contrary, they all make the wife puzzle. They all have reach get. Except for the case where the get was just written for practice. Sheno place, in that case there is no reach get. Every last get mentioned in Mishnah, if you give it to your wife, it's a reach get, it makes her puzzle kuna. Milsa the Reish Lakish Amar. The following case of the following statement of Reish Lakish holds, Kulan Ein Psulim, none of them are puzzle. None of them puzzle the wife. The Reish Lakish Amar, what is that sheet of Reish Lakish? Reish Lakish says, Kasavo Toref Betofes Pasul. This machlok is going to come up again subsequently tonight, so it's important that we explain it properly. There are three parts in the get. There's the Tofes, which is actually, on broad terms. There's Tofes, which just says, we're here, and there's the date, and all that kind of stuff. Then there's the Toref, which is the lashon of Harei at Muteres l'chol Adam. You're permitted to marry anyone you want. That's the critical component of the get. Right? We had before, a couple of days ago, you could write a get on an olive leaf. That's the critical component you have to write. And then there's the names, the shemos in the get. The names of the man and the wife and all that. So we have the toifes, that's all the information. The toiref hared muteres l'chol adam, and the shemos. Okay? So Reish Lakish holds that Tofesh, Toref, if you wrote Harer Muteres l'chol adam, like a Tofes, like the inconsequential parts of the Gittin, Pesulin, it's puzzle, right? Puzzle. It's no good. So if that's the case, this Gittin our Mishnah, obviously, the Toref is written as a Tofes, because here even the names, which is even more severe than the Toref, the names are being written Shol Lishma, right? So therefore, it can't be a valid get. It simply cannot be a valid get. And therefore it can't even be Reach get. right? As opposed to Rabbi Yochanan holds the exact opposite. Milsa Rabbi Yochanan holds Amar Kula Psulin. He holds that they are, we make a blanket gzera across the board, because since he holds that you don't need to have the Toref written lishma, right? A Toref written like a Tofes, Shlo Lishma is okay, as long as names are written Lishma. So it's true the names are not written Lishma, right? But it's sufficiently close to a Toref being written Shlo Lishma that we have to say that these get impossible to the woman as well. Why? Because a Gzera, since Shemos, even though Shemos have to be written Lishma, but a Toref doesn't have to be written Lishma. And since we're already, since if you write a Toref, Shlo Lishma, it would constitute a valid get. So we made it clear when it said Shemos, which have to be written Lishma, even they're not written Lishma, it's a Reach Haget. I don't know if I make it clear, but there are three notches, right? The Tofes, the Toref, and the Shemos, right? So Rish Lakish holds a Toref has to be written Lishma. So if a ready Toref is written Lishma, right? So therefore, if you just wrote a Tofes, it's a meaningless gesture. If you wrote the Toref as a Tofes, meaning you wrote it Shlo Lishma, so then it's not considered to be a valid get, not even a Reach get, because this is nothing, right? Quite to Rabbi Yochanan, a Toref does not agree with Lishma, right? But we're afraid you might get mixed up between the Toref and the Shemos, because they're similar in that they are the key component of the get. So therefore, even though if it's theoretically wrote the Shemos Shlo Lishma, the get should not just be invalid, but it should even create Reach get. But since potentially, if you wrote the Torah Shlo Lishma, it would still be a valid get. So therefore, even if you wrote the Shema Shlo Lishma, it's enough to make a Reach get. So clear it all? Yeah, makes sense. Okay, it's basically how far we may go making the Gzera. So it's not clear if Rabbi Yochanan is going to recur again shortly. Says Gemara, Milsa Rebbe Lezer Amar Kulam Einam Psulim. From the following question, we can infer that he holds that none of them are puzzle. None of them make Reach get. What did Rabbi Lezer say? Rabbi Lezer has found questions. Ksav Kiddushin, you wrote a Shtar Kiddushin. Sheksava Shalishma, you did not write for sake of the woman. Ma'oshit V'so Kiddushin. Do Kiddushin take effect on the woman nevertheless? Now, why do you only ask by Kiddushin, not by Gittin? Could have asked by Gittin the same thing. Since he didn't ask it by Gittin, it must be she'enam psulim. It must be that a get written Shlo Lishma doesn't even create Reach get. That's why I asked the question only by Kiddushin, where the Kiddushin written Shlo Lishma at least creates a chumrah of Kiddushin. Now let me make that clear. We hold that, I will explain in a few momentarily, we hold that Kiddushin has to be written Lishma. A Shtar Kiddushin has to be written Lishma. However, the question is, does it at least create a Kiddushin D'Rabbanan L'chumrah if he didn't write it Lishma? Now if by get it would have created a get D'Rabbanan L'chumrah, which is Reach again, and we should have asked the question by Gittin as well. And the Gemara now is going to explain why. If the question would be a question by get as well, and there's potential Reach get, even if you write Shlo Lishma, Lo Yisrael B'Kiddushin, you shouldn't have a question by Kiddushin, but rather by Gittin. And they would have said, Nein, Gittin, if by get, Shu Tzarich Lishma, that the Torah itself says, because of law, Lishma, and we dash at Lishma, because of Shlo Lishma, if you wrote it Shlo Lishma, without intent, then nevertheless, take out the low, because the low here is wrong. Mashbiach takes out Nagu ba Gerushin. Gerushin touches her and it's Reach get. And Kiddushin, by Kiddushin, she'enon tzarich lishma. Now, of course, by Kiddushin, you do require lishma, but it doesn't say it so explicitly in Torah. It's learned out from Makish Havaya Li'tzio. Right? That just like on the way out, she needs lishma, so too on the way in, you need lishma. So by kiddushin, she'eno tzarech lishma, what doesn't say explicitly that you need lishma, v'kosav shelo lishma, if you don't shelo lishma, eno din she misubah kiddushin, it's not kavachon, she machmir require kiddushin. If by get where lishma is essential in the Torah itself. If you didn't write lishma, we say there's still reach haget, and a possible lakuda. Kavachomer that by kiddushin, if you wrote it shlo lishma, we'd be machmir and say mekudesh misavik requires a get on that kiddushin.
Is there such a thing as reach kiddushin?
Mm-hmm.
There is.
Sure. Mekudesh is pain mekudesh. Have it all the time. It's not called reach kiddushin. I forget the Rogachover has some gewaltige word which I forget. I don't remember this one. Why they're called reach haget. So what's the language is from? I really don't remember. I have to look it up. But there is some vehicles why it's called.
Now, there still is difference between a get and a kedushin about das and yeshus. That the kedushin, she doesn't need das. You see, right? Gittin, she does need das. And we had that last week. And the kedushin, she needs yeshus, and Gittin, she doesn't need yeshus. So how could they make this similar analogy between the two?
They both require lishma and mitaita. But begin is the source. So whatever we say begin, we're certainly going to say about kiddushin.
But we said in kedushin, she doesn't need yeshus. She doesn't need das.
She doesn't need das. By getting, she doesn't need das.
No, but she needs to know that she's getting divorced.
Yeah, well, by kiddushin, she has to know she's getting married.
Right.
You mean ratzon. She doesn't need ratzon by getting. She doesn't have to acquiesce, but by kiddushin she does. But that's still, if we knew by getting, oh, I see what you're saying. In other words, you want to say that, yeah, but here obviously it's just a case where she wanted to get married. Because we're saying that the question is, you wrote the Ksav Kedushin Shol Lishma, but Pasha says she wanted to get married. You're saying by Kedushin she wouldn't be Mekudesh, it's not a Kavachomer, because Kedushin needed a Ratzon as opposed to get, but obviously Mor's not taking that factor into account. Well, good point, but that's not what I'm saying. So, says in my tape sheet away, I forgot what exactly what the one is. That was here. Yeah, it should be partial that by kiddushin, it doesn't say explicitly in Torah that you need lishma. So why should it? So what's the question? We should be machmer, so we require get. How can who? It should be tricholet. This is the question. This is precisely the question. Since we learn out the parameters of how Kiddushin is written from how Gerus is written, my Gerus and Magresh is like Gerus, she's not divorced. Until there's Lishma, Happy Kiddushin and Magresh, maybe Kiddushin is not married as well. Okay. New issue. Rabbi Lezer Bar Yossi. Now, Lezer Bar Yossi has a very cool question here. Lezer Bar Yossi asks the question. He asks like this. Hadar the Tamer get echad pasul b'shtei nashim. We say that a get which is potentially could be given to either one of two women is pasul, right? If you wrote it for one of your two wives, it's pasul. It's a kavasor. Let's say the same thing that hein shnei gittin. Let's say where there are two gittin, which are you wrote two gittin for one woman, two gittin for one woman. Okay? You said, I'll have one, I'll have a backup, right? So one of them gets burnt, lost, smudged, so you kept a backup. You're very determined to divorce this wife. If the first kid doesn't work, you have a backup kid, right? So, H they and it should be psulim, should be pasul like kish the kiv, it should be kivish they nashim like by two wives. Some they said, vikini, Well, let's say it's not the choice, the case in a chanami. If you have two gittin and you leave up in the air which one you're going to use, then no way it's going to be valid because that's a shaila of. You have two gittin, you're not sure which one you're going to use. Brera. It's coming up. So it says, although Yerushalmi, I don't know, do Yerushalmi ever use language of Brera? No, it doesn't use it here either. But the idea is clearly one of Brera. So ask one, wait a minute. What did we learn? Shnei Gittin sheshuchu shnayim. Two guys sent two gittin, one get a piece, okay? But they came together. They came in the same diplomatic pouch, right? Nisar, when they got mixed together, we don't know whose is which. So notice his name was you keep each of the two wives both gittin, right? How can you do that according to what you just said? What about the Brera issue? So that's not Brera. Oh, where you don't know which one it is, and you need retroactively to clarify which one it was. That's usually Brera is a shas sugya as to whether when you don't know when you make a transaction what you're doing, you expect that someday it might be clarified whether that's kind of valid transaction or it's lacking in the proper definitiveness to be a proper transaction. We end up the way we usually most poskim apostles that aim Brera by Doraisis and Yesh Brera by Dorabonans. By Doraisis, you definitely have to know what's going on. But that's the way most poskim say. Not all poskim and not all studies seem to indicate that. So anyway, but here the Gemara says that's not all the same thing. Each woman only had one get. Zekrus lishma, each one has one get, which is written to sever her relationship. Garments, she said they got mixed together, so each one's got to get two. But where you wrote to gittin, neither of them was written with the proper intent to be the clay race, to be that which severs severs the marriage. Now, before we go on, let me tell you, Or Sameach here. Or Sameach says, "Smachlokas Bav and Yerushalmi." He says that this Yerushalmi clearly indicates you need Nesina Lishma, right? It says here that here when you give the gittin, right, Zek Krus Lishma v'Zek Krus Lishma, right? You're giving each one Lishma by giving both of them, because you're just giving each one, both in order to be misafik. So, although I'm not so sure looking again, but the other man won't say that the Yerushalmi requires Nesina Lishma by a get, even though the Bavli does not. Bavli is not requiring Nesina Lishma. Although according to the Gemara, he says maybe according to Rabbi Lezer, you do require Nesina Lishma because the Yerushalmi seems to hold like Rabbi Meir that Eideh Chasim Makarti, and nevertheless requires Nesina Lishma to be given for the right for both him and her. Okay, be that as it may. Now, ask more, what's wrong with Brera? Why can't we do a little bit of Brera? So you wrote two gittin, which should be good. Became a trustful, whatever you give her one of the two, Yasa Kamisha Oya Krus Lishma Mishari Shreina. Let's say Huvro Radovo Lemafreya. It was retroactively clarified that this is the get. What's the problem? Why are we so bothered by that, right? So says more Rabbi Yossi, I'll tell you, Rabbi Yossi B'Shem the Rabbi Bibun said to Rabbi Shimoni. The reason it's problem is because it's going like Rabbi Shimon. Now this brisa, which we bring down here, is not in the Bavli. It's only in the Yerushalmi. Rabbi Yossi B'Shem Rabbi Bibun said, I would have said that on my own, because I don't remember it in Bavli, but the Or Sameach says something in the Yerushalmi. The time we learned, Amalu Uman, a guy says to a craftsman, Aseli Shnei Zugin, make me two bells. Echel karka, one to put to be mechaber to karka, it's going to be my doorbell. V'achel lebheima, one for my animal, to be a cowbell. So which one is mekabel tuma? And which is not? The cowbell is mekabel tuma. Why is the other one not mekabel tuma? Because it's going to be connected to the ground. Even though it's made severed from the ground, since it's made with the intent to connect to the ground, so it's never a makabel tuma. It's the same thing they say by metal mikveh pipes. Now they make all mikveh pipes out of PVC. But when they used to use metal mikveh pipes, they relied on this assumption that if it's made al manas to be mechaber to the ground, it's not considered to be a keli ever betolush. Okay? So you had the guy make two bells, but he doesn't know which is which, right? So aseli, or similarly, aseli shnei machzolos, make me two tarps. One for line, which will be makabel tuma. One will be a tent, which is not makabel tuma because it's not really a keli. They also say they make me two sheets. One for all, that one will be makabel tuma. I think because it's more like a canopy over a bed as opposed to a house. One in which I'm going to wrap my I don't know if it's a signet ring or a little idol, I don't know exactly, but I'm for turos. So that's not makabel tuma. Harelu tmeim. So now he didn't specify. He just said I'm going to use one for one purpose, the other for the other purpose. But he didn't specify which is which. So in this case, harelu tmeim actually for yafrisha betaro, we assume that they're both tummy. Until you specify which is tar, they're both tummy. Rabbi Shimon argues. Rabbi Shimon tar actually v'shena betuma. Rabbi Shimon says they're both tar until you designate it betuma. Now, what does that mean? In order to make something a keli, it has to be a keli from when? From the beginning. In other words, the one which is going to be makabel tuma is the one which you define as a keli, right? When does that to be defined as a keli, says Rabbi Shimon? From the moment it's made. If it's not defined, this is actually a very big kula, brera, right? He was saying not only is there a brera, but even to the extent that neither one is a keli. Until you designate one to be, I don't know if such a big kula, but until you designate one of them to be used for the purpose which allows tuma, it's considered to be tahar. So is not a kli until you explicitly make it. Right? So same thing with a get. A get is not going to be a get until you make it. Aha. But when does the get have to be made lishma? When it's written. Yeah, I use the word make very badly there. A get, here it's not going to be a keli until you designate it, right? Not when it's made. Rabbi Shimon. It's a keli when it's made, and that designation can make one of them tar. Rabbi Shimon, it's only a keli when you designate it. When you made it, they're both not considered to be keli. So too here, according to my get, well, like Rabbi Shimon, we would say it's got to be written lishma at the time that it's written, when it's made. But it's only the designation makes it lishma. That's no good, and we don't say brera in this case. Okay? Because he said Rabbi Shimon. Okay? Kamadu Omar Tamon Achi Keli Mishor Mishor. It's got to be a keli from the get-go. Kach Lo Emerad here. So too he says also Achi Krus Lishma Mishor Mishor. It's got to be designated forget from the beginning. Rabbi Chida B'Sheri Bun Bar Chia said, let's take out the Rebbe. Tnei Moshe leaves it in and explains the Gemara accordingly, but Korban Eidah does not. And I'll learn like Korban Eidah. So therefore it's a new issue. Rabbi Yochanan said, Rabbi Yochanan, but tiny came also the Brisa. Amazing Gemara. It says you're getting Chavdal on the side, but I don't remember this from Bavli. Call out to Noyim Poslim Beget. Any Tanai apostles in a get. You can't write any condition to a get. So shocking concept, right? Why not? Right? So Divrei Rebbe, that's Rebbe. Chachamim said depends. Wait, that's what Chachamim say. Chachamim, they say it depends. Eshu poisel bepeh, a t'nai which would verbally be which had it been said verbally would have been no good. Poisel k'sav, that's no good, even if you wrote it down. But she'eno poisel bepeh, a t'nai which does not would not be a problem if you verbalized it. Eno poisel k'sav does not probably wrote it down, which is exactly what you said. I mean, you're right. But first, let's clarify this, then we'll come back to your being right in a few minutes. So in the meantime, the Rabbanan explained. They say, if I say you are allowed to marry anybody except Ruvain, that renders the whole get possible, because the whole concept of get is that she's allowed to marry everybody, right? So since such condition were made verbally, would parcel the entire get transaction. Just because it's made in writing, the get transaction is still parcel. However, if I say I'm telling you to get if you give me $200, since you can do that verbally, you can write it down as well. Okay? So Rabbanan hold that you can write down valid t'noim in the get itself. Rebbe holds no t'noim in the get. Rabbi said, Mapli, where they argue. Now, although I'm queasy doing this, I'm going to learn it's like the Shai Torah Eretz Yisrael, which completely changes the gears over here. Because I didn't understand the gears as it's written over here. Alright, the Mapli, when's there machlokas? It should be according to Shai Torah Yisrael, but shelo bitel to know. When the husband not cancel the condition, and the condition stood, and she fulfilled it. So in that case, Rabbanan said, what's the problem? She fulfilled the condition was a valid condition, no problem, it could be written in the get. Rebbe holds it's no good, you can't write any conditions in the get. Aval, however, take out the word lo, bitel to know. If he wrote a condition in the get, she did not fulfill the condition. He canceled the condition. In that case, also, instead of Rebbe Modeh, Rabbanan Modu. In that case, Rabbanan also agree. Why? Because the Tanai written in the get, which is not a proper Tanai, because he canceled it, renders the get null and void. It's like get your bottle mitzvah bottle kulo almost. If part of the get is no good, so the entire get is no good. Okay? Because he canceled the condition.
But the Tanai was not to marry roommates.
That's not true. The Tanai of the $200. And he canceled that Tanai, still the get is no good. Because it's inherently incorrect. Because that Tanai was never carried out and never intended to be carried out after he was involved with. Now, continue with the Shai Torah Yisrael changes. Instead of Harei Umar, you should say Hadar Marah. This teaches us that Kol HaTnoim, that any condition, instead of Shitninu, Shai Torah Yisrael changes to Shishoninu, although I don't know if that's necessary. All the Tnoim, it's Gemara actually asks a question. Teaches that all the Tnoim begin the local Rebbe. Oh, I have pages and pages of conditions again. So you're going to tell me all those pages of conditions are not like Rebbe? How can this be? Amrei said no. No, we won't go that far. Tam and B'Kaisev al Manas came. The only problem, Rebbe only said it's no good when you write it down. But if you give it on the condition, that's okay. So Rebbe said, obviously, he must have been saying like what you were saying. That when you put it into the get, that's a problem with the kruskita. Because I guess because of this, I'm not sure exactly how you would define it. What? It has to be unequivocal, and if you want to modify that, it has to be verbal, but not in the get itself. Get has to be an unequivocal document of separation. Okay, I can buy that. So, Sefer Krisus, you mean? Yirmiyahu is Lamani Hamzu Yom in Rabbi. Okay, so David, that's how you can't write a cheres. Okay, so it says Gemara. Okay, you can actually. Okay, David, Chadamra teaches us ain't Toifs in Karebi. Now, Toifs, remember we said before, is the part of the get which has non-essential information, right? Sure. What? So, according to Rebbe, there should be no such thing as a Tofes. Because the Tofes is non-essential, right? So it's like, I'm telling you what the Gillian Ephraim says. He says, so it's like a Tanai. Since it's when you write the Tofes, it's al Tanai that you write the Toref. Because the Tofes without a Toref doesn't work. Sure. So, now that Reb Meir though gave shot, I think I had explained this better than using Gillian Ephraim. I think I explained like you said before. A get can't contain any non-essential information. A get must be, I'm changing what I just said to modern things. A get with non-essential information should be just like a get with the Tanai. According to Rabbi, the get must be lean to the bone. It's got to contain only what's necessary to create severance and no more. So therefore there should be never a tofes allowed in the get. Do you buy that explanation?
Why not?
Okay, that's good enough. So that's what you're saying, right? Ain't types in Karebi. Amar lay, so he said, it should be like min man at boy, saying that. Who you asking the question? Min Rabbi? And a Chanami, Rabbi holds like Rabbi Yehuda. There's something missing here. So be Rabbi Kira, I'm not sure exactly. Something's missing. But anyway, the idea is Rabbi the place of the person. Rabbi holds a get can't have a tofus. Now this never made its way into the probably as far as I know. But that's what it says here. And you can't have a tofus in a get. A get is only the teicha, faret, muter, schodam, and the shemus, and no unessential information.
You can't or you don't need?
No, ain't types to begin. Can't. It's non-essential information. Yeah.
How do you know?
So it says again, hey, so and so said, the plane so and so. There's a whole long description of what I'm doing, right? And then at the end it says, and I said I read mutar shalom. So all at beginning where it says I'm saying so and so, all that is patrisis, with the ruchis, the seichi lechi. Forget the example with lashon, but all those lashonos which we use to indicate divorce, according to Rabbi, not allowed to write in. Kol amosif korea.
Maybe that's right. It's not like Rabbi and Gittin.
Right.
You run into many problems if you don't undertake this.
Why?
Because anybody isn't there problems when if you don't know exactly when it was due.
No, he needs man. It could be that we haven't gotten to Zman. You're right. There are other components which are required. But we don't know Zman yet. It's next Mishnah. Right now we're assuming there's just Tofes, Torif, and Shemos. The Gemara adds, gradually goes to the parak, will introduce other elements, Man, Mokom, things like that. Right? But not right now. The truth is, Mokom, I think, Mokom we write into the get. And when we write, if I recall correctly from last time I learned Gittin, which is a long time, not last long, it's not so long ago, but I learned Alochs of Gittin, which was a long time ago. So, I think that in Mokom we do write, I might be totally wrong about this, but I think in Mokom we write, but even if you didn't write it, it's kosher. It's just that once you're writing it, it has to be written according to the specific format, otherwise the get is parcel. Okay, it's one of those cases where, had you not written it, it would have been okay. But now that you do write it, it's got to be written according to a specific format. I think that's true about Mokom, not about Zman, though. You're right. Zman has, Rabbanim made a takana, Zman must be written into the get. But it's not Midaraisa. The Raisa Zman is not essential to get either. It's not part of the Torah for the Teifis. Okay, it's a takana Rabbanim. Okay? Reish Lakish Amar. Reish Lakish says, Kol Atznoyim Pleitzlim Beget, Divrei HaKol. All Tznoyim Pasul Get, everybody agrees. Also, the Kum Rabbi Yirmeh, so case came from Rabbi Yirmeh, other Reish Lakish, but did like Reish Lakish, they pasul, because that's not written in the get. Only Rabbi Yossi said, Shafkim Rabbi Yochanan Vavdik Reish Lakish. You forgot, you left for Suk Rabbi Yochanan, did like Reish Lakish. So he said, now Rabbi Yochanan hasn't argued here, right? No, Rabbi Yochanan hasn't argued. So he says, Amalei said, "Oh, Yossi the Rabbi." He retorted, right? Rabbi Yochanan retorted to Rabbi Yossi. Oh, Yossi the Rabbi Yochanan, or Yossi the psak Rabbi Yochanan is a psak. Rabbi Yossi Reish Lakish lav Yossi, and the psak Reish Lakish is not a psak. Well, Reish Lakish is not a rabbi, can't paskin. So Amar Rabbi Yaakov Bar Achar Yaakov said, "Lo Reish Lakish poeg Rabbi Yochanan." You should know Reish Lakish never argues Rabbi Yochanan himself. I seem to recall we had this principle somewhere else in Yerushalmi, but it could be I'm wrong. It could be the first time we had this. Reish Lakish never argues Rabbi Yochanan. The only time I find Reish Lakish, even though Reish Lakish argues Rabbi Yochanan all over Shas, it's only if he had a brisa upon which to rely. Do we ever have this principle before? You don't remember such principle. Okay, so let's assume we didn't have it. Unless he had a brisa which he knew about, and he relied on the brisa to argue Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yisrael Bun, Lo Reish Lakish similarly. Lo Reish Lakish matlitz l'kabel Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Reish Lakish did not attack Rabbi Yochanan. Begin dispalig Allah, because he wanted to argue upon him. Begin mafkin uvda minei. in order to get the Maisa, in order to get the story, so to speak, out of him. And when he had a brisa, so he relied on the brisa and continued to argue Rabbi Yochanan. Kadlo shamasnisa. Even when he seems to be arguing with Rabbi Yochanan, if he didn't find a brisa upon which to rely, humevatel daite, he would negate his own das. Mekume daite Rabbi Yochanan from Rabbi Yochanan. So Rish Lakish only argues. So therefore, if we can pass on Rish Lakish. Right? Stop shot. We can't pass on Rish Lakish. We can pass on Rish Lakish. We find Rabbi Yochanan always in Rish Lakish arguing. So Rish Lakish only held like Rabbi Yochanan when Rish Lakish only able to argue Rabbi Yochanan where he had a brisa upon which to rely. Otherwise, he would not. He would not rely. He would not argue Rabbi Yochanan, who was his Rebbe, of course. Okay, halacha base. How close if Toifes Gittin? Now you're writing the Toifes, right? This is not the Toiref, this is the Toifes. But there's the Shemus. You have to leave the Shemus over, right? Like we said. I skip. The name of the man, Mokam Isha, and name of the woman, Mokam Azman. So remember the day before, there's the place in the get, blank. Leave the place blank in the get. Okay? Leave a blank space. So remember, we said there's Tofes, there's Toref, Harayat Muteres Cholodam, and then there's Shemos. The Shemos are written in the Tofes. But the Tofes, which you can pre-write, is the place other than the Shemos. So you leave a Shemos blank to fill in later. You write the rest of the Tofes, and the Shaila is if you can write the Toref ahead of time. That's what we're going to discuss. Okay? Which is the Toref again is Arei Muteres Chod, and you're permitted to marry anybody. Similarly, Shitrei Malva, the bills of loan. You got to leave the place of the Malva, Makom HaLoive, place of the Loive. You live the Makomos in the place of the amount of money, Makozman, and the place of the date. Again, these are the lines of the document. The bill of sales. So if leave the place of the buyer, the place of the seller, the amount of the money, the place of where the field is, and the place of the time, and something here is we don't know what, the one is going to explain. Right? A place of Kulam says they're all no good. None of these are good, the one is going to explain it as well. Right? Lezer says they're all okay, even if you write in the information ahead of time, except for which means that's written expressly for this situation. Okay? Rabbi Yochanan Kosav Torfo B'Tofes Kosher. Now it says he wrote Harei Muteres Chodam in the Tofes, meaning, Tofes in modern Hebrew actually means a form. That's what it means here too. So Rabbi Yochanan says if you wrote Harei Muteres Chodam as part of the form, right, that's okay. It doesn't written expressly for the situation in hand, right? If you write the Torah, if the Harei Muteres Chodam is part of the form, puzzle, it's no good. So it says, wait a minute. Masnisa Pliga I'm going to learn like to read Baz here in the Gillian Ephraim, are Rish Lakish. Change Rabbi Yochanan to Rish Lakish. Our Mishnah seems to argue on Rish Lakish. It says, Akosiv Toifes Gittin, says, if you're writing forms for Gittin, Sorshneach Mokam Ish, or Mokam Isha, Kazman. You gotta leave the place of the man, the place of the woman, and the date. But you don't have to leave the Torah. If you have to leave the Torah over, so our Mishnah should say, you have to leave over the Harei Muteres Chodam, right? But so Rish Lakish gives a Baal Batish answer. He says, leave over the place of the space for the man, the woman, the day, and the Harei Muteres Chodam. The Kash Rabbi Yochanan. Now, on the other hand, we have a question Rabbi Yochanan. If you wrote the Torah in the Tofes, say it's kosher. Now, the truth is, the difficulty is, why not? Why shouldn't it be kosher? If you hold the Torah is like the Tofes, why can't you write it? So I go a little to Gilin Ephraim. The Gilin Ephraim says that the reason is it would have been one of this place where it would be very logical to make a Gzeira. If the Torah is if you write a Torah in the form, so it would be very natural to write names in the form. So therefore we should parcel a get where the Torah is pre-written, lest you come to pre-write the names. So it says, no. That makes no sense. And the Gemara, I'm going to start it's Taka explained very beautifully by the good friend. Let me say it outside first and then I'll say it inside. Rabbi Yehuda responds that he says, look, let's say there's a psul of mechuber in the Torah, in the Shemos, right? Now let's write the Shemos Mokol Karka. So then it makes sense to make a Gzeira to write the entire get when the get is already severed from the ground. Why? Because once you start writing it off the ground, it's unlikely it's going to get reattached again. Right? But by Lishma, every single word has to be in Lishma, or the words that have been Lishma are several words. If I make a Gzeira, you have to write words A and B Lishma, there's no guarantee you're going to write C and D Lishma. It's not like Mechubar, once you got rid of the problem of Mechubar, so then you never have a problem again. By words, even if I made a Takora, okay, you gotta write the Torah Lishma. You still might write the Shemos Sholo Lishma. So therefore, it's not the type of situation which lends itself readily to Takora the Rabbanan. Takora the Rabbanans we make when following the Takora will be a almost universal panacea for the issue, but here it won't be. Okay, so that's what Rabbi Yehuda says. Rabbi Shimon says, from the nature of the psul, you learn how you write it b'kashrus, right? Ilukas kula lishma. If you wrote the entire get lishma, v'shem ish shlo lishma, but the name of the man and the woman shlo lishma, shem and apostle is not apostle, right? That's apostle. And vice versa, the kavasah because of kulo shlo lishma. What if you wrote the entire thing shlo lishma? And B'Shem Ish Lishma, they wrote the names Lishma, that's kosher, right? So therefore, every word, every phrase has its own unique parameters, and therefore, I cannot make a blanket Gzeira, because you might forget in the middle, or, get distracted in the middle, so what good does my Gzeira do? So therefore, from the nature of the psul, you learn how Chachamim were machshir and how they were not. Okay? Now, the next few lines, nobody knows exactly how to learn. So, I'm going to give my own shot. Rabbi Yossi Shol Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yossi asked Rabbi Yirmiyah, what if you wrote a Tofes? Hagaz Rosh Hivek, and you managed to, by coincidence, you wrote a Tofes with names, and later on you got somebody who had the same names. You wrote generic names, sufficiently, Reuven ben Yaakov and Leah Bas Avram. So they're relatively, generic names. What happens if the Tofes, you wrote names, and those names came out to be okay? Now I don't remember. I didn't look at a get today. I don't know if you write a get, if you write the names twice. Assuming you do, but I don't remember a get. But let's say in this case you did write the names in the Tofes, and then you have what? In the Ksuva we do because it's a long document, so we write at the beginning, right at the end. So I know, but let's assume that the for some reason this get was written with twice the names. So once it's in the Tofes, and those names are not essential. So Amalek, he said it's okay. That's fine. As long as later on you wrote the rest of the Lishma, it's fine. Amalek's Rabbi Zira his Rebbe said, he said to him, "Mikevan she'eno motzi leziug." No, since it's not so prevalent to have exactly the same name. Afil zivek, even if you found the same name, there was the same name. Kamish lo zivek, if it's as if it's not the same name. In other words, basically what we're saying is that since it's a rarity, so therefore we just don't let you write in names. In other words, if you have like keychains, where there's one name on the kitchen, so it's very frequent to come out. So maybe in that case it would have been made that you can write a whole many forms with generic names. But since anyway it's so rare, so why should Chazal be making on this? Why should Chazal let you write Tofsim? Not the Tofis. Not the Tofis. That's what it says about case when the Tofis you wrote a name and not yet in the. That's the Torah.
So what about the Torah? You can't do that.
No. But the question is again if you can write forms where he has already names in the Tofes which are which are and theoretically were it to be a big savings, so Chazal might have been matter that. So it's not a big savings since it's rare that you have all four names exactly the same, so therefore Chazal said, you know what, just don't write any names. Okay? Even though you can write a form, but don't write the names, leave that blank. Okay? For Kasher Rish Lakish. Rish Lakish asks the following question. Look, if our mission is talking about a case where anyway he didn't write the Torah because he holds the Torah in the Shema, but don't Ravina play, so why did Ravina apostle it? Why does Ravina hold that a form get is possible? What's the problem? So Ravina said a pretty cool answer. He said, "Leaning acher over the Lord Rabbi Ravina apostle get for another reason. You know why he apostled it? He says, Messiah Kai Demar Rabbi Shimon Barba, the Rabbi Shimon Barba B'Shem Rabbi Yochanan, Cholak Makom Shnei Shitim, Leaning acher Afilu Kosher apostle. If you left two lines blank in the get between one matter and another matter, the get is possible. Because who knows what can be put into those two lines. So Rabbeinu holds you can never leave blanks. Because if you leave blanks, so then somebody can come and fill in the blanks inappropriately. So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda has a blank and say you can never write documents with blanks in them.
Even though blanks are just for names?
Yeah, lest they come something because some forgery comes about as a result. So it's like we're only machmir if two lines are left blank. But if he says here, if there's any blank in the get, he wants the apostle as a result. Let some forgery occur. Okay, we'll stop here today. The next news starts in the Sugya. Here's more.